Today we're going to talk about some things you can do with the K-Vest to help you get more power from your golf swing. So there's obviously a lot of contributing factors to power. How your feet interact with the ground, how your body moves, how your arms move in the backswing and the downswing, and how the club obviously gets delivered into impact. To go into any one of these areas can be a really important thing per player. So what we want to do today is just show 5 great drills for most players out there that can really help from a power side. Number 1, we're going to start with posture. Really important to get into a neutral athletic posture. That's what allows us to set up to load in the backswing. Number 2, we're going to look at making sure that we can get a good sequence of a takeaway move in the golf swing. It's called takeaway sequence. Number 3, we're going to go into what's called backswing core engagers. A lot of players have never even thought about keeping the core braced as they start the backswing move, and a significant amount of power is then lost from the pelvis going into the trunk. Number 4, we're going to start getting into the arms, transferring energy out from the arms to the golf club. And number 5, we're going to really put this all together, really getting into a power drill that's going to transfer energy out as a final progression. So let's start with number 1, the first drill that's really important from a power side. And that's really simply getting the body in a nice neutral athletic posture where the feet have a good connection to the ground. So every player's posture is going to be a little bit different. It's obviously affected by the length, the lie angle of the golf clubs, and the player's body. But really what we're looking for is to get the spine neutral, keep the core braced, and get really into a posture where we feel leverage against the ground. When we do that, we can hear that biofeedback tone play. And as you can see, every time we do that correctly, we have a rep countdown. I've got 1 rep left here. When I automatically complete that, I get into this neutral posture. That then automatically loads the next drill in the software. So getting into neutral posture really sets the foundation to be able to move into the next phase of the backswing. So once we've established a good neutral posture, one of the next keys is to make sure we get a good early stretch of the upper body away from the lower body in the start of the backswing. So it looks like this. This is called the 20-40 drill. And what I've said here is some biofeedback, making sure that my trunk is rotating at a faster rate of speed than the lower body. A lot of times with players, we'll see this unpowerful move where everything rotates together and the club typically follows that body motion. Pressure goes to the heels. We can definitely get back to alignment or get back to an impact position, but a lot of times it's not a very powerful one. So getting this early separation here, good posture, really feeling the core braced. That early separation that we call the 20-40 is a big contributing factor to loading properly in the backswing so we can do the next phase, which is transition and obviously start coming into the downswing. So now that we've set up in a good neutral posture, we've talked about an early separation. We want to make sure we're doing that early separation, keeping the core engaged. Now, I work with a lot of players that go to the gym, work a lot on their core. However, they come to the driving range or they come to take a golf lesson and they've never thought about keeping their core engaged into their backswing or into their downswing. So this is a drill. What it's going to do is it's going to help us work on pelvis stability as we start the backswing. You'll notice 2 ranges up on the screen here. I've got a range for my starting address posture, and then I've got another smaller range as I get into my backswing. So I'll show you here what happens with a lot of players. I'm going to get set up in neutral athletic posture. Here's what a lot of players do. They swing back to the top. Everything looks pretty good, but I've completely lost my core right now. I've actually arched my lower back, and it's a huge contributor not only to lower back pain, but it's a major loss of power in the downswing. So what this drill does is it forces me to go from one range to the next. I set up a neutral posture, then I've got to keep my core braced in the backswing. That's how I then get to this second range. I set up in the first range, nice and neutral. As I then swing back, I move to the second range. As soon as I lose my core, I lose the music. So unless you've got a camera rotating with the pelvis, it's really hard to see if somebody's arching their back in their backswing. This is one of the really nice things about 3D technology is it can pick up on this. So So the next drill, we're going to talk about how to use your arms to contribute power out to the golf club. Getting in good posture, keeping the core engaged in the backswing, making sure we load up for power, then allows us to then unload into impact. I like to think of the backswing as loading, the downswing as unloading. Those terms can really help you get some of these key concepts down. So this drill is called K-stick pops. You'll see it's very simple. We've got some tennis balls basically set up on a stick. I'm going to make a little backswing. I'm going to let the ball drop. I'm going to make sure I rotate my hips enough to get loaded with the lower body, and then boom, I fire into impact, making sure I also get the biofeedback with my lower body open enough at impact. Making sure it's not just an arm dominant or a trunk dominant swing, making sure that lower body is still leading the movement. So once again, we'll do this again. Swing back, let the ball drop, and then we'll fire right over into the impact area. Really good drill to sequence the movement and really help transfer a lot of energy out into the golf club. All right, the final drill in this power progression is called impact bag drawbacks. This is a great drill for training deceleration in the golf swing. A lot of times we talk about acceleration, and we're always thinking about how fast we can turn our body or turn our arms or the golf club. But it's really training stability that's a major contributing factor to power and to ball speed. So the impact bag drawback basically is very simple. We're going to make a 3/4 backswing, feel like we're in a loaded position. We're going to pop the bag, and we're going to return the golf club back up to the top of the backswing. We're not doing this with our arms. We're actually doing a lot of this from the core and a lot of this from the ground. So we can start with some small progressions, not a lot of speed, just getting a feel for, can I actually pop the bag, change direction back up to the top. Once you get good at this, we can actually start to add a little more velocity and really training some speed, so by the time we hit it, we're really using the ground, we're really using our core, but we're working up to those things, and that's why we start with posture, then focus on the core and the backswing, then get the energy out to the arms, and finally we learn to teach the body to decelerate. These are 5 great things you can use your K-Vest for to get more power from your players in their golf swing.